So now we know the context of I Ching was written within, and we know the causal effect relations and rhythms. Let's clarify the definition of some of the words that we saw in the previous right to wrong spectrum. As part of FAQ, people frequently ask, when I see greatly auspicious, and auspicious, what do they really mean? Well, greatly auspicious, when you see this word, they usually indicate it's a worthy and righteous cause to pursue in life that can benefit not just the subject, but beyond. If you just see the simple word as auspicious, it just means the subject's desired vision can be achieved. The next level we see frequently is rewards outweigh risk. When you see this set of words, it just means the subject is making a positive stride toward the desired outcome, but it's not the whole stride. You still need to have several other things to happen or follow-on effort that's required to reach the desired vision. Another set of words is nothing bad shall result. What this specifically just means, it minimizes the possibility of moving backwards. The most frequently occurring set of words that we saw to describe the outcome is no future regret. And this important phrase will be discussed in our next chart. We'll talk about that in detail. Also, another undesirable word that nobody likes usually is the word misfortune. But misfortune is not something painful or divine or punishing. It just indicates desired vision, subject's desired vision in whatever cycle he or she is within. The desired vision cannot be achieved. Now we have come to the word that appears most frequently in I Ching to describe the outcome. The word no future regret, or 无咎. No future regret appears in tens of places throughout I Ching, and I Ching itself is not that big of a text. It's written in a very terse and concise way. And no future regret means current action has no bad future side effect. Therefore, it is okay for us to move forward without knowing whether we are making an optimal decision or not. From another angle, to say this is, this particular activity has minimal side effect regardless of how other circumstantial factors play out. This makes no regret one of the most profound elements to both spiritual and physical life. Basically, it's telling us to move on and experience a non-deterministic life. What is this last bullet? What are we really saying in this last bullet? Well, we cannot possibly control all variables in life. We cannot possibly control other people's behaviors fully. But how can we achieve our desired experience, which we frequently characterize as success? How do we achieve success in every step of the way if we're unable to control the circumstances? Should we just sit and wait for circumstances that may or may not happen? This is where the wisdom of no regrets fits in. Every one of us is contributing to the evolution of the circumstances in our reality. Our willful action may not immediately result in the ultimate desirable outcome we are seeking, but as long as our action results in no future regret, we can move forward and experience the further changes in circumstances. This is what we mean when we say, be prepared when the opportunity knocks. This is how specifically we are preparing. We move on with no future regret. The ideal circumstances may not come today, but our movement forward, as long as the result has no future regret, or better, our movement can facilitate the rotation of the favorable circumstances to come. Well, you may ask, well, maybe my premature action result in missed opportunity when the circumstances do come around. So you might as well avoid that risk. Might as well don't act. It's better than acting. Well, if your willful action is deemed as no future regret, then it is not a premature action. Now you see the wisdom and practicality of I Ching. It gives you such context to guide you to whether to act or not act. It's very practical wisdom. Now we have some perspective of I Ching's development. Let's look at some FAQ related to the specifics of I Ching. The next FAQ is, why is I Ching organized the way it is? Well, we all know I Ching is organized into 64 hexagrams with 30 hex in the upper script and 34 in the lower script. Each hex has 6 lines. The general rule is this. I Ching breaks in life into 64 categories. Each category is depicted by a hexagram. Each intend to cover one aspect of evolutionary spiritual life, which is hex 1 through 30 in the upper script, and the human physical experience, which is hex 31 through 64 in the lower script. There is a reason, a systematic reason for the order of these hexagrams. There are many versions throughout history how the hexagrams are ordered, but today the most commonly accepted version of the hexagram order is the one that's commentated by Confucius, and that's the version we're going to use throughout our videos and our studies. And in my opinion, this one works well, so I just stick with this one. But there may be other academic interests for other orders. But for right now, we're gonna bypass that, which is focus on the Confucius version of the hexagram orders. Each hexagram describes its aspect through the 6 so-called phases, which is corresponding to the 6 lines that it has. And these 6 phases describe that particular aspect of life in 6 chronological manner or the 6 positional variation manner. Now, what does that mean? If it's chronological, it just describes that particular aspect of life from the beginning to the end, what will happen, what will subject experience. And if it's described in the positional perspective, then it's describing how that event took place for the lower tier, let's say peasants, versus a king at the upper echelon and the ruling governing bodies, and how there will be experienced differently in these 6 positional tiers. Okay, now once we know the general rule how this is organized and described, then how do we use this sets of depiction to describe our reality? Well, I Ching is doing this through 3 different approaches. One is, at any given moment, at any given matter, human may experience more than one categories or hexagram simultaneously from a single perspective. So let me use an example to illustrate this. Let's say you are eating an ice cream. So the process of eating ice cream, you are very happy. So you are in the process of seeking joy. But at the same time, from your own perspective, you are nourishing yourself with very creamy ice cream. So it's a nourishing human capital, which is hexagram 27. And let's say you are at the same time you are eating ice cream because you and your boyfriend or girlfriend are in the process of a courtship. So both are eating ice cream, so have a very good feeling toward each other. And that process is described in hexes 31 as a courtship. So same activity, same perspective, which is the same person. There could be different categories or hexagram to describe the same activity and willful action. The next approach is, at any given moment, for any given matter, the same human experience may be viewed at more than one categories from different perspective. Well, let's continue that ice cream eating example. So from the subject's point of view, he or she is eating ice cream, so very happy, so it's a process of seeking joy. And yet, this could be in a following the leader kind of party setting. So if you are following, your boss ate the ice cream, so you're eating alone, and that's described in hexagram 17 as following the leader. Or from a doctor's perspective, you used to be sick, and then finally you have recovered from a ailment. Now you can eat the ice cream. So doctors see this as hex 24, which is recovering from ashes. So you finally fully recover, you are able to eat ice cream. Okay, the third approach to this, using this to describe reality, is at any given moment, at any given matter, human may experience changes from one hex to another. So let's continue this ice cream eating example. As you eat ice cream, you may be in the process of seeking joy. So joy will be over. When joy is over, you don't feel that great. Or you may be in the process of a celebration. What celebration? There's after ice cream, there will be other shows or other celebratory activities. So more good things to come. Or maybe you are in just a process of mending a difference with the previous foe. So both sides eating ice cream as a gesture of reconciliation. So you can see these hexagrams, even they describe the same ice cream eating process, they will all evolve into a different phase with a different time mentality in the very near future. So the last three bullets of this chart reflects the inherent complexity of the human life we are living in today. According to I Ching, there is no one standard depiction of any particular willful action that we're taking, or no standard to depict any reality we're experiencing. As the perspective is all relative and dynamic, the last three bullets also showed us that the main reason why some novices cannot interpret I Ching augury effectively and accurately. Only after you are able to digest all the meaning of every hexagram and every line, then you can really put together a complete static and dynamic picture of what's taking place and what's happening right now. Otherwise, if you haven't digest all the meaning and yet you are trying to read the result from your augury, you will find the answer or the picture being depicted being a very puzzling and even contradictory in some perspective. So I can echo that also with my personal experience, as I didn't believe in I Ching augury until I actually digest every hex and every line of I Ching, and then the augury works out very well for me. Now we know the importance of digesting I Ching meaning. Well, how do we achieve that goal? In this chart, we shall show some practical tips in digesting this wisdom, as this is one of the most frequently asked questions: how can I digest I Ching meaning effectively? We have to remember each I Ching hexagram represents a theme of life, using both text and pictorially with the hexagram. So whenever we read them, we have to relate our own life experience example that resembles the scenario which that hexagram is trying to depict. So how do we relate to that? We try to think, how did we feel when that scenario happened to me? Did I feel comfortable? Did I feel lonely? Did I feel happy? Etc. And what was my state of mind objectively at that time? Was I excited, being creative, have a lot of joy? Was I getting enlightened? Did I stop something and then make adjustments? Was I relaxed, or did I take on more risk, or did I become more conservative? If the text itself, the I Ching text, contains a illustrative description, you mentioned a subject encountering certain thing, we try to empathize the subject's feeling that's being depicted in that text. But we have to, of course, keep in mind that scenario happened 3,000 years ago in China. But most of the time, my experience is that you can still relate to that scenario, how subjects feel at that time. In summary, we have to consciously and logically convince ourselves the hexagram and line make a coherent picture of a certain theme in life. That is very important. If we are not convinced ourselves that was true and coherent in our mind, then this particular wisdom is not yours. It still remains on paper. You cannot use it. It's not useful for you. Another danger of such a non-coherent picture of a particular theme or hexagram is that you may interpret the I Ching augury result erroneously later on when we learn about I Ching augury. So try to convince yourself on this coherency. And ask a lot of questions if you couldn't get it. Okay, but nevertheless, they are not hard. They are all sensible and they are all very logical.